We're back on the channel, and today we're going to do what I call culling the channel, because I've got a couple of videos that are pretty much outdated, and it's time to get them off the channel because it's just leading to confusion, and in a couple of cases what appears to be anger among my viewers. Let's see if I can find the first one here. Wait, there must be more. I know somehow I've misplaced it. Have I got? Oh yeah, here we are. It was the first video I did when I got the crystal, and well, maybe the second. Might have been the second. This one here. How hard is it to set up and run the Pimax Crystal? Well, I did a little demonstration on this back in on May 7th, before any consumers had their headsets, and only a few reviewers did, and we beta testers had just barely gotten ours. And it was a reaction to a couple of reviewers, YouTubers, who I thought were making mistakes. They were going on and on about how hard it was to set up the crystal and how they were finding all these issues with it, and not one of them ever said this might not be an issue with your headset, or none of them ever said I've got a pre-production headset, it might not be as bad with the next headset, and not one of them ever said I must be doing something wrong. They all said things like, well, I'm really smart and I've been doing YouTube and VR for a long time, so it's got to be Pimax's fault. And I don't know, maybe it was, but maybe it wasn't. We found out a lot of things along the way that can mess up the Pimax Crystal, and some of them aren't Pimax's fault. But anyway, I made this short video, not mocking them exactly, but showing exactly how simple everything was. You plug everything in, you turn the computer on, you fire up Pimax client, you fire up your game, and Bob's your uncle. I mean, for me, it was absolutely no brain required. Which is good because I only have half of one to start with, but it was absolutely plug and play. And remember, this is the first week of beta testing, so I didn't have very many other examples to go by. As the beta test period wore on, we started to find things that could cause the Pimax Crystal to be extremely difficult to set up. Some of which were flaws in Pimax's quality control, and I made a video about that too, called my love and love not so much relationship with Pimax, where I detailed some of the problems we were finding. But other things turned out to be not Pimax's fault. We've discovered over the process that some video cards will not handle 3 flat monitors plus a VR monitor. They reject the VR monitor. So the quick solution to that turned out to be to unplug the third monitor. But it's video card dependent. Nothing to do with Pimax. And then the other problem we found is that we've always told people to change USB ports if it doesn't work, but I always wondered why we did that. Why would it make a difference? Well, it turns out not all USB ports are equal. Did I say VR ports? I meant USB ports. And this turns out to be a problem with some manufacturers of motherboards. The way they handle USB port and USB port routing isn't very good. And I think if you Google it, you'll find there's several examples of that. So that's another way it can fail. But of course, the third way it can fail is if you get a defective cable. Quality assurance. Some of the early crystal cables were fiber optic, and they might have gotten torqued a little too hard when they were wound into the box, and they're a little bit fragile, so they didn't work. And there are other things that can go wrong too. I had a pre-production crystal, and it worked absolutely flawlessly, except when it came time to test eye tracking, the eye tracking module didn't work. But remember, I knew going in that the price of getting an early unit and being able to test it ahead of the consumer release was that I was going to get a pre-production headset and it wasn't going to be perfect. So I kind of expected things, and Pimax support was really good. But anyway, the long and short of it is, somebody left me a message saying, well, what are you telling people who do have problems with their headset? And I thought, holy cow, what am I telling them with this video? I'm telling them that they're dumb. Well, they're not dumb. There are problems with the Crystal, and there are known solutions to some things that aren't Pimax's fault, and there are problems that are still Pimax's. So I think, to be smart about it, to be fair, I have to remove this. I really have to remove this video. I just don't think it accurately describes the situation now, 5 months into beta testing. So goodbye. How hard is it to set up and run the Pimax Crystal? You, my poor video creation, are deleted forever in the interest of fairness and I guess transparency. Some of the things in this video aren't necessarily true. I thought they were when I made it 1 week into beta testing, but I probably should have removed it some time ago. So goodbye. Here it goes. Yes, I understand that deleting it is permanent and cannot be undone. I'm sorry, little video. You're off to video nirvana, or wherever videos go when they die. Do I have anything else I want to get rid of? Well, I think maybe... let's see. Oh yeah, that's the video I was talking about early. My love and not so much relationship. How bad is the Pimax software? Well, this was another reaction video, and the Pimax software is actually pretty good. So I'm going to leave this up because I think it's a good demo of how to use the Pimax client, but it is a little bit dated because the client keeps changing. They keep upgrading it, and soon there'll be an option for standalone play, and then the face mask for bases and base monitoring is coming. And so I just don't know if I should keep it up. I think I will for a little bit longer, but it's rapidly becoming outdated. So I want to thank the people, even the ones that were a little unkind in their comments on that video. Because, it alerted me to the fact that sometimes you've got to look back in time, and in order to keep your channel trustworthy, you've got to eliminate and explain things that don't necessarily add up anymore. As I said, a lot of these videos were made in the first week of Crystal ownership, and frankly, the Crystal was an absolute piece of cake for me. I plugged it in, I turned it on, and it went. But I've discovered over time that hasn't been the case for everybody. And in many of those cases, it's not Pimax's fault either. But in other cases, it still is. And I'm still bugging Pimax about quality control. And I think they're getting better. But it's something that every VR company needs to do really well. Especially if, like Pimax, you're charging a fair chunk of change. Now, I'll grant you that the Pimax Crystal comes with a lot of stuff that the Arrow doesn't, and it is cheaper than the Arrow, but it's still bloody expensive. I mean, I'm a retired guy. It was a big expense for me, and I expect it's a big expense for most other people. So I think manufacturers have an obligation to get it right. Not just an obligation to make it right, which is what Pimax is getting pretty good at. They make things right. They come up with solutions. They apply them. But upon release, I think they should be ready. There shouldn't be a lot of issues. There's going to be one or two no matter what you do. I mean, the Vario Arrow, a bunch of those got set back for having dead pixels, and other things go wrong too. But that's just part of the journey with any product. Not all of them are going to be perfect. But I think quality control is something that Pimax has identified and is working on. But sometimes they let their pure enthusiasm for innovation race ahead of what's actually accomplished. Anyway, I enjoy working with Pimax. I enjoy my Crystal headset, but I want to keep the channel up to date and as accurate as I can with fair-minded information. And I'm not married to a brand. You know, if the new Somnium looks good and it can give me 130 degrees or so of resolution and of field of view and resolution close to that of the Crystal, well, that'd be something I'd look at. I'm interested in quality kit at a price I can afford, and the Pimax Crystal does that. But it's not without its faults, and I'm going to do a video on what you should know before you buy one so that you get the most out of it. And there is a lot to be gotten out of it. I have to say, the Pimax Crystal has been absolutely amazing for me, for what I do with flight simulation, driving simulation, and the occasional ill-considered bout with Half-Life Alyx. It's been great. Okay, so that's it. We've gotten rid of one video, and I'm going to try and do, I apologize to all of you, I'm going to try and do a better job of seeing which ones are out of date or have information that is no longer correct, or describe something that doesn't exist anymore. For instance, there wouldn't be much use in doing a video on Pi tools. That's been gone for a year. Anyway, I'm going to do a couple more videos on Pimax Crystal, on the Pimax Crystal in Steam OpenXR, which is cool. Tell you what I like and don't like about it, and within the next day or two, I should be testing, once my hand controllers are charged up, I should be doing some testing for standalone play. And this should be funny, because I don't do standalone play. I can barely stand alone, let alone play while I'm standing alone. But I think it should be fun and interesting. And thank you very much for listening to me ramble and explain a few things, and I hope it does explain a few things for you. Take care now. We'll talk soon.